Hey guys, Captain Dave. It's a guide's life. I'm out here on the water this morning with Captain Gary. Say hey, Gary.
Hey, Dave.
No, say hey, Gary. There he is. He'll figure it out. Anyway, listen, we've been out on we're back out on Lake Placid, and Gary and I have Gary's had a desire to get into his electronics a little bit and use his electronics to see if we can locate the brush piles, right, Gary?
Absolutely.
And there are lots of brush piles in this lake, and so we just worked back and forth a grid pattern here for the first probably 45 minutes or so, and we're just starting to go back on top of the things that we marked. And the very first mark that we came to, it looked kind of a suspicious looking brush pile. I can't really quite figure out how it's laying in here, but I've definitely come over it a couple times. But our first pass on top of it, bam, bam, we got two fish. Gary got one about 2 pounds or so, and I got one probably about 1.25 pounds. But here we are. So let's see if we get a few more, and I'll kind of involve you in this process. It's Captain Dave. More coming. Got him. A little peanut, but that's all right. Look at it. Yeah, that's our brush pile, bud. Look at that thing. Guys, that's the brush pile we're looking at right there. That's it. Now there's a fish on it. There's a fish around it. But even though it's not attached to the bottom, you can see how the brush goes like this and it comes up. And the reason it's not showing the whole thing is because we're on top of it on one angle, you know, and so there's a cone angle that you operate in, and it's only going to show what's in the cone angle. And in this shallow water, the cone angle is very small. Right. So, but that's absolutely it, brother. And Gary just scored another fish. Right there again. That's more brush pile right there. See the little scatter above it?
Yep.
We're just seeing a portion of it, because that's all that's in the cone angle. That's another difficult thing that people, you have to understand, guys, when you're looking at your sonar, you've got to understand that a lot of times, like we're only in 8-9 feet of water here. So and this is probably set at, what's at high chirp, so it's an even more narrow thing, but you're only looking at a cone angle that's probably 2 feet wide. You're looking down at about 2 foot of the bottom in a circle. And Gary's got another one here. Gary's wearing me out with this worm. I might have to switch over to a worm. Gary's gonna have to get me. Gary's gonna get me to switch to a worm, aren't you, Gary?
Gonna try.
All right, man. That's good.
You can't
that's
beat
good.
this.
Look at there again. Again, there's more brush pile right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that little speed worm, man. And you're right. It's hard to beat that thing. Look at there. There's a big pile of brush here, brother.
They're not big fish, but gosh, they're fun
That's
to
another.
catch,
That's
Dave.
another 2 pounder. That's a nice fish. Very good, guys. You know what's neat about this is, this literally, you know, Gary knows that there are brush piles in this lake, and so we were specifically out hunting brush piles. But if you're in a situation, where you think there might be a structure like that in deep water, or in deeper water, you know, you cannot. I just can't emphasize how important structure scan is in these situations. We drove back and forth. We drove a very specific grid pattern, and we took our time and went back and forth and made sure the electronics were tuned up and reading, you know, the way we wanted them to. And I'm going to tell you, it's like, I'm going to go where you at. Where you at, bud?
I'm right out here in front.
You right in front? Okay, I'll go this side then.
Dave, maybe we can show them that grid pattern on that GPS after a while.
Gary, I think that's exactly what we'll do. Just let them see it. So these fish have been on the bottom. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
The fish you're catching are right on the bottom.
That last fish, I came through the brush pile. I felt the brush pile. And as soon as I came off the edge of that brush pile, it went boom. He had it.
Just like that.
Right on the bottom of the.
And you know, guys, in lakes like this that are fairly devoid of grass, there's a little bit of Kissimmee grass over here on the edges. I think that's Kissimmee grass, isn't it, Gary?
It is.
But that's about all there is on this lake. There's just a little Kissimmee grass on the edges. I think we need to turn ourselves here.
Yeah, this lake is is totally white sand bottom. There's just no grass out off the edges, so the only thing out here are either humps or brush piles that people have put in here.
Yep.
And if you can find the right brush pile, you can get well. There's they have some tournaments up here.
I think you can almost see it here. I'm telling you, can see a darkness in the water here, because we're not in that deep of water.
And it's not unusual up here for these local tournaments take 26, 28 pounds to win one of these.
And sitting on a brush pile
Sitting
someplace.
on a brush pile.
It may be 15, 18 feet of water. Or...
Yeah, anywhere from 8 or 10 feet to 30 feet of water.
Isn't that something?
And
well, believe the electronics, right?
Absolutely.
We believe our electronics.
You got to trust them.
You got to trust your electronics. You know, you'll dance around one of these spots with your electronics. And I'm going to tell you another tip, and this is important now. I had to talk Gary into this when we first started this too. But one of the things you want to make sure you do is you want to put for your navigation, your chart plotter, you have to put north locked in, because if you've got your heading and the map keeps spinning, it becomes very, very difficult, you guys, to keep track of which way you need to go to get to your stuff. In this case, it's easy. I need to go to my left, and I know that it's straight out in front of me to my left once I turn the boat, and that's critically important. Go ahead.
Dave, explain the red and blue line on here.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what, that's about the greatest thing that I've seen.
This comes from the 0.1 antenna with Lowrance, and what it is the blue line is the direction your boat is facing, and that information comes from the 0.1 antenna. The blue line is the direction the boat is facing. The red line is actually the direction the boat is floating or moving. And you know, a lot of times you got wind and you got your boat pointing one way, but the boat's drifting in a different direction. It shows you exactly what that is. And you're right, Gary, that is probably some of the most important information you can ever have.
You know, when you first put that on there for me, I thought, you know, this is just another little gadget he's got out here, because Dave is a gadget guru, by the way.
Yeah.
But after using that thing a little bit, it's just amazing. You think you're, like, if you're going to a waypoint, you think, well, I'm going right toward it, but you've got a little current or a little bit of wind or something, and you've got this little drift.
Yep.
And the first thing you know, you're 8 or 10 or 15 feet off that line you wanted to be on, and you may miss that whole brush pile or that rock pile or whatever it is you're fishing out there.
Yep.
But with this, it keeps you right on track. I mean, it's great.
It's also really good if you're drifting through an area, and let's say you've caught some fish and you want to drift that area again. It's great to know you can sit on your trolling motor, you can touch your trolling motor one way or the other to keep that red line going where you want it, as opposed to just which way the boat is pointing. With traditional GPS, it only shows you the direction the boat is moving. But the problem with that is you have to move to get ahead, to know what orientation you have. And this eliminates that. You can always know which way you're pointing versus which way you're moving. I have it turned on in both of my units, and I use them. They're equally important in both scenarios, whether it's navigating the boat or whether it's trying to fish your cover. We've been dancing around the outside top of this thing. Let's get ourselves turned and let's see if we can get right on top. We have still not run over our marks yet. You know that?
Not completely.
Let's get over these. They're close by here. They're right here. They're right here now. So let's go point out just like that. The direction the boat is pointing is there. You go. It should be right in here. In fact, there's some brush pile right there.
Well, there's a bunch of, somebody's put a bunch of brush in this.
This is a big pile of brush, and there's several marks in the area that we haven't fished yet either.
You know, Dave, if you notice up here on the bank, there's an orange grove.
Yes, sir.
And it's young trees. About 5 or 6 years ago, they took that orange grove out and replanted it. And I just wonder if somebody maybe didn't take a few of those.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is a pretty good sized area of brush out here.
It is. That's absolutely true. That's interesting, Gary. That's interesting. See, what I did, I just cast off the back of the boat. And the reason I did is because I can see, based on orientation here, I can see that the stuff is actually behind us and to our left. So that's why I made my last cast off in this direction. It's kind of hard to hold on it because it's a little spot. And your boat, when you hit your trolling motor, your boat moves quite a bit. Now see, you're on a portion of it right now. You see that?
Yeah.
See, we're on our mark right here. You can see that we're on the mark here, and you can see this is brush pile here in the shade right here, and this right here. Now there's some fish here as well, but that's the brush pile. And the reason you don't just see a big giant brush pile is because it's not down scan. It's sonar, and so it's not reading in a big. It's reading that small cone angle.
And we're in less than 10 feet of water, so that cone doesn't have a chance to spread out.
Right, exactly right. So we bang another fish or two here and we're gonna look like geniuses. They sure did, didn't they? There's a fish. Little peanut, yeah. But he's a bass.
We're setting almost, there's some more of our brush pile.
Yeah, I was just say, every time we get in the right place here, we catch one. Boy, it's a little one here. I thought I was gonna get a bigger one when I started throwing the worm. I guess not. But we're right on that brush pile. You know, people get frustrated with their electronics. They think their electronics are just telling them crazy things. But guys, listen. Oh yeah, look at that now. But the fact of the matter is, you guys, it is simple. It emits a signal. The signal comes back. It translates that signal. And if you're emitting a signal and something comes back and it translates it, it's going to consistently translate it because it's a computer. So you just need to learn to see what they look like. You know, like that right there. I know that's this piece right here. I'm going to back it up here. I want you to see this here. I know that's not a fish. That is structure that is stuck up, and this is another piece of it here too. And that structure that's stuck up, but we just don't see where it's attached to the bottom here because the cone angle is so small. If we had a big broad scan, we would see the whole thing. But that's the kind of thing you got to get to where you understand what you're looking at. And that's it. That's the deal. Piece of it here. We're coming across a major piece of the brush pile again, right there. You can see it, again what it looks like. And if we can get our bait on top of that edge, it's probably exactly where you'll get a bite. The other thing too is, you see how this is showing real heavy here and it's real light right here with heavy here? This is light because it's in the outside edges of the cone angle. The further out toward the edge of the cone angle, the lesser the return looks. Though that's more directly in the cone angle than that. That's why it looks faded. So that's another important thing that a lot of people don't know about reading their electronics.
She put some very nice pictures.
Okay, right out front here, there's brush piles out front here. Okay. Look at them here. Jesus.
How deep are we? 16 feet.
There's fish. There he is.
Good fish?
No, I don't think so. Oh, not bad though.
Bad.
Right off this brush pile here. Right off that brush pile. You know what? I lifted that up and started shaking it, and he just came right up and hit it. He just came right up and hit it there. Come here, baby. Yep. Tell you right now, we like that, don't we? Look how pale and beautiful these fish are. I think they're pretty.
Oh, they are.
One's got a knock in his nose. Gary, this thing is working out pretty good, man.
It is. I'll tell you what, we're finding some brush piles, we're finding some debris around it, and there's some fish on some of them. That was a nice fish.
That was a really nice fish. I'm going to tell you something too. Gary was talking to me. He said that one of the times that he had seen, he put a camera down and looked at an old brush pile, and it was actually broken apart, and there were pieces of it laying all over the place. So that's a lot like what we're finding out here. We're driving across a structure scan, we're marking something, we come back in, and there might be 5 or 6 pieces of debris around the main mark that we made, and there's fish on these things. So anyway, that's another little FYI. I'm going to show you some more stuff with the electronics here, but we're having a great time.
You know, this just goes to show, if you come out here and put in some time, you
can
find fish.
Yep.
Now, and you know, most of the people are not going to be out here. They're up there on that grass line.
They're beating that grass line, and one guy said, well, we've caught 7, and we usually have our best luck up here in the grass. And
and
I'll tell you that right now, was that number 7? That was our 7th fish.
Number 7.
And I promise you, they didn't catch one that size.
No.
Not up there on that grass. Nope. So we're excited, man. We're going to keep pounding away here.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, hey guys, Gary and I, we're just finishing up here. We had a good day.
Had a great day.
Yeah.
Had a ball.
Yeah, it was. Listen. Gary's known about this lake for a long, long time, and you can always tell when you fish with a guy who's been around for a little while, because every place we were at, he had a story about some old boy doing some dumb shit thing. So, so it was. Our favorite one was this morning, though. Listen. This dude puts his boat in, and now you said too, he sounded like a local dude.
Well,
right?
he acted like he'd been here before.
Well, and when we saw him out on the lake, he talked like, well, we always do this because this is where we have the most luck and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, this guy, Gary, the very first thing Gary told me when we put in this lake was, as you're coming out here, he said, right at the just as you're coming out of the launch, there's a big sandbar here. You got to make sure you got to idle across real close, get your motor up, idle across it. But, all right, well, these good old boys, they took off, and Gary, I'll let you tell the story.
Well, they idled out there, and they were just about in the middle of that sandbar, and he just romps down that motor, and he's throwing sand and mud and stuff backward.
But that's not the funny part.
And he looks around like, my goodness, what's going on here? So he gets off the throttle, and he goes about 10 more feet, and he romps down on it again, and he's throwing mud, and it's like, well,
I'm going to say the things you see, listen, the things you see on the water that you see other people do, you just pray to God you're never that person. But that good old boy, it was worth a little entertainment this morning. And then to talk to him and have him and his partner telling us how they normally fish, and it made it sound like they're out here all the time. And Gary said it looked like a couple of local guys.
Yeah, I think they're locals.
But obviously it makes you wonder how many times they've dug a furrow through that.
Well, I don't know, but you know what?
Won't be long, you'll be able to run through there.
Well, there's deeper water over there now.
Hey, Captain Dave Schneider, Captain Gary Long. We'll see you guys later. Appreciate
Great day. Have a good one.
Thanks, man.
Enjoy.